So my formal diagnosis is temporal lobe epilepsy. I can't remember if it's the right or left temporal lobe. That's probably my epilepsy, messing the memory up, but it's one of the two. For me, it's, not having full control over your brain, I would say. It's kind of like walking around with the back of your head or the back of your mind, you're always kind of thinking about something potentially happening. So epilepsy, I would say apart from seizures, it's really something that just kind of directs the way you live your life, right? But you do the best you can to not let it fully direct that. I was 15 when I was diagnosed. It was something where my parents didn't know really what was going on. I used to work at Best Buy when I was in high school, and my coworkers found me, wandering around Best Buy, and so that was the first sign that something was wrong. And then I had a couple more, like absent seizures and different things like that. So that was really the first impact to my life. It was kind of a bit of a blur. I was in high school, so quite a while ago. But the experience itself was almost like out of body because I didn't really understand what it meant or what was really happening. And it was upsetting because, life's hard enough. And when you find something new that's another challenge, like at first I thought it was like, okay, why me, that kind of thing. Eventually I got to learn that it was a benefit, but at first it was very upsetting. I guess that's why I don't plan so much, which is a good thing and a bad thing, but I could try to live, in the moment as much as possible. So the most profound thing that ever happened was when I lived in Chicago at the time, and I wanted to find out what kind of epilepsy I had. So I had to go into the hospital, and I had to go into one of these wards where they hook your head up with all the cords, and they basically, force you to have a seizure in order to see where the electricity, or, where it happens to the brain. And it was this very surreal experience because you're sitting in a room and you're doing all the things you're not supposed to normally do, like stay up or have alcohol. And they actually told me to keep working because stress, right? So I was still working, answering emails. But the scary part was it's in this ward where every time someone's having a seizure, like a light goes off. And you'll hear it. So you're sitting in there waiting for your light to go off, and you don't really know, when it's going to happen. So it's an interesting and eerie experience. And they videotape it, and then they ask you if you want to watch, which is weird too. So yeah, I was like, no, but maybe. So I watched it, and that was, I would say, the other weird part is watching yourself have a seizure. It's odd, something unique because you never get to do it. So I said yes. A lot of my life is structured to avoid seizures in the sense that like I focus on sleep and I focus on like diet and minimal stress. And the big thing for me, another wake-up call was my aunt and grandfather both had dementia or Alzheimer's. They passed away from that. And one of the potential conditions you can get after epilepsy, there's a potential correlation for that, right? And so that's always in the back of my mind too, and that's another reason why I try to I'm doing what I want to do because, life's very short and you never know what's gonna happen. Fatigue is pretty consistent for me. Kind of a brain fog too, especially if I haven't gotten the right sleep. On top of that, I'm kind of, out of it without sleep too. On top of that, I can be very short. I can be very kind of out of nowhere, if that makes sense. I'll be upset about something and I'm like, I don't know why I got so, a quick agitation. A seizure for me, I would say the first thing that comes to mind is confusion. Just because every time I've woken up, at least from a major seizure, I wake up and I don't know where I'm at. I don't know who's around me, and I don't know anything really, except that I don't. Yeah, it's just confusion. Since I had the medication and it's been bumped up to make sure I don't have the grand mal or tonic clonic, whatever it's called, but I'm on a decent amount of dosage, and so every time it's gone up, I've noticed I'm just more tired and foggy. I can just tell that I'm not fully myself, if that makes sense. I mean, mindfulness has been huge for me, and I know it's the hip thing for everyone, but stress is such a big trigger, and I didn't realize it when I was younger, but the more I've gotten older, mindfulness has just been a huge help for me. I would say meditation, journaling, anything where you can kind of slow down. I had a seizure at work. And I just remember waking up and everyone's kind of like sitting around me and they just have this look on their face where there's just fear. I think it scares people, and so they don't know how to react, and they don't know how to like comfort or even kind of talk about it. It's almost like, I don't want to say brushed aside, but there is, somewhat. It makes me feel better that, there's things like this in community coming out, because at the time you feel alone. I feel like I'm the only one obviously in the room that has experienced it, that really knows how to handle it and knows what's going to happen afterwards, the fatigue and all that stuff that comes after you have a seizure, but then, what could potentially happen too. So alone is something I think you feel. So in my opinion, the most misunderstood aspect of epilepsy is what can cause a seizure. Which oddly, whenever I talk to someone about it, the first thing they mention is strobe lights, which is weird, right? And I looked it up, and it's like 5% or something have that specific epilepsy. So, which is funny, but it's also dangerous because they don't realize that, like, again, the big things are stress and lack of sleep, and then obviously, if you're using drugs and alcohol, that's going to impact those things. So I think the triggers of a seizure are pretty poorly understood. So my big thing, and especially doing this, is that you're not alone, and that there's hope, and you don't have to let this, dictate your life. Yeah, you're going to have to make adjustments, and there are adjustments that probably everyone should be making, right? Like more sleep and less stress, but you're not alone, and there's resources, and like use those resources to live the life that you want to live, so you're not run by epilepsy. It's just a little something you got to deal with and learn from. What I want the general public to know about epilepsy is it's a complex thing, right? There's a lot of triggers, there's a lot of things that people have to deal with, and so if you come across someone with epilepsy, or you love someone with epilepsy, tell them that they're not alone and that you're there for them, and I guess look out for people that have it. I would tell myself to slow down. I think I rebelled when I was younger, being upset about having this diagnosis, and so I tried to live a loose and fast life. And I think I would say take it more seriously, but again, don't let this dictate your life. Like, make the changes, but then use this as like a motivation to pursue things earlier, and try things earlier. Don't wait to live, because you never know. Obviously, to find a cure, like if someone could live without having a seizure, I think that's an amazing thing. In the interim, like, no side effects from drugs, like that's the big thing. If I could focus and not have brain fog and not be as fatigued, like I think that would take the sting out of it a little bit. It'd just be easier to cope with and kind of move forward. I guess I felt a little less alone knowing that people were doing something like this, because I haven't seen anything like this before.